My name is Emily Carter. I am 32 years old. 5 years ago, my brother Lucas lied to my parents. He told them I had stolen money from the family business. That single lie cost me everything. My parents cut me off. They blocked my number. They skipped my birthday. They ignored my calls for years. I was no one's daughter, no one's sister. I was erased. Before we get into the details, take a moment to like and subscribe. Drop your city and local time in the comments. I want to know where you are right now. Now, let me take you back to the spring of 2018 to a small living room in Springfield, Massachusetts, and the last time my father looked at me with anything but suspicion. Growing up, there were 2 children in the Carter household, but only one who mattered. Lucas was the perfect son. He was outgoing, popular, charming. My parents, Richard and Ann Carter, middle class, hardworking, and fiercely proud, adored him for it. He delivered everything they wanted: confidence, charisma, and obedience. I was quiet, studious, cautious. I was the daughter who read in the corner, the one who followed rules and avoided attention. I was the invisible one. There is a difference between being forgotten and never being seen. Here is a small example. In 8th grade, I won a regional writing competition. Lucas had a football game the same weekend. Guess where my parents went? When I returned with my certificate, my father glanced at it and said, "That is nice, Emily." He never asked about my story. He never did. I told myself it did not matter. I told myself I did not need their approval. I poured everything into my work, my grades, my future. I wanted to be the daughter they could not ignore. Then came college. I got accepted into New York University's business program, 3,000 miles from Springfield. For the first time, my father looked at me and said, "Maybe you will make something of yourself after all." It was not a compliment, not really, but it was the closest I had ever gotten. I clung to those words like air. Lucas noticed the shift, the attention I received, the pride my parents had never shown me. It threatened him. Within weeks, he started calling, texting, asking about my classes, my roommates, my professors. I thought maybe, just maybe, we could be siblings again. I told him everything, every detail, every vulnerability. I fed him trust. Little did I know, he was collecting ammunition. By the end of that semester, the first real crack appeared. My parents called. Lucas had told them that I had embezzled money, that I had lied about my scholarship, and that I was planning to cut them out entirely. I pressed my hand to the phone, heart racing. "Emily, is this true?" my father asked. I could not breathe. "No, it is not true," I said. But my words did not matter, not to them, not anymore. And just like that, my family disowned me. For the next 5 years, I was erased from their lives. No birthdays, no holidays, no casual phone calls. I lived in a small apartment in New York City, working 2 jobs while finishing my degree. I learned quickly that life does not pause for heartbreak. Nights were long, weekends were lonely. I missed my family, but I refused to beg for a place that no longer existed for me. I poured myself into work, into building a life that was mine alone. I became the kind of person who did not need approval. I made friends who valued me, mentors who believed in me, and colleagues who respected my work. Still, there was a hollow ache that never left. It lived between my ribs, a constant reminder of what had been stolen. Lucas never reached out again. Not a call, not a text, not even a single apology. I did not hear from him for years. I blocked his social media accounts. I deleted his number. But every now and then, the universe reminded me of his existence. A mutual friend would mention him. A package would arrive addressed to Emily Carter, wrong apartment, always reminding me that he was out there, living, lying, thriving, while I struggled to survive. Then, one December evening, everything changed. I was finishing a late shift at the hospital, exhausted, when my phone rang. I did not recognize the number. My heart froze when I heard my mother's voice. "Emily, your father, your brother, they are here. ICU, Springfield General." I felt my stomach drop. ICU? What happened? I drove 3 hours straight, through snow and freezing rain, gripping the wheels so tight my knuckles turned white. My mind raced. Had Lucas been in an accident? Was my father hurt? Who needed me? Every possible scenario felt worse than the last. When I arrived, the emergency room was chaos. Nurses were running, monitors were beeping, doctors were barking orders. And then I saw them. My parents, pale, trembling, faces drained of color. They looked lost, small, unmoored. They saw me and froze. My mother's hands flew to her mouth. My father could not speak. I felt a strange mix of fear, anger, and anticipation. This was the moment that would decide everything. I was led to the ICU, and there, on the gurney, unconscious, pale, struggling to breathe, was Lucas, my brother, the one who had destroyed my life, the one who had lied to them, the one who had robbed me of my family. He had been in a car accident. The doctors told me he would not survive without immediate surgery. They looked at me. "You are the attending surgeon on call. We need you." For a brief moment, I considered walking away. Let him go. Let them deal with the consequences of their choices. Let someone else save him. But then I saw the monitors, the blood pressure dropping, the oxygen levels falling. And I remembered every night I had cried, every time I had held myself together when they abandoned me. I took a deep breath. This was my chance, not for revenge, not for pride, for life. I scrubbed in, my hands steady, my mind focused. The same hands that had built a life from nothing were about to save the life of the person who had tried to destroy me. And for the first time in 5 years, I felt power, true power. I scrubbed in, gloved, mask on, badge visible, and walked toward the operating room. My brother's vitals were crashing. The monitors were screaming at me in red and green, warning me that time was short. I did not hesitate. Every step I took was measured, precise, controlled. I had waited for this moment my entire life, not for revenge, not for applause, but to prove that I was no one's shadow anymore. The surgical team looked at me, unsure, cautious. I could feel their eyes weighing me, judging me, sensing the tension in the room. I ignored them. My focus was on him. Lucas Carter, my brother, the boy who had lied and manipulated, whose falsehood had destroyed my place in my family, was lying on this table, helpless. And it was my hands that would decide if he lived or died. I took the scalpel. I began the procedure. Blood flowed, organs were fragile, and every move mattered. The room was quiet except for the rhythmic beep of monitors and the occasional soft command from me. Step by step, I worked, steady, deliberate, slow when precision mattered, fast when speed was essential. I had done this thousands of times before. Only now every nerve was electric, charged with years of suppressed anger, hurt, and determination. I thought about my parents standing outside, faces pale and drawn. Their fear was real now. Their grief was immediate. I had been gone for so long, erased from their lives. But here I was, the one who could save the child they had always loved, even if they had not remembered me. And the irony was deliciously sharp. I was the one they needed, not him, not Lucas. 3 hours passed like 30 minutes. Every incision, every stitch, every clamp, every suture was a test of focus and restraint. I could feel the weight of my own history pressing down on me, but I refused to falter. I refused to let the past dictate the present. My hands moved like lightning, precise, efficient, unflinching. Finally, I closed the last stitch. His vitals stabilized, the monitors were steady, he was alive. I pulled off my gloves, wiped my hands, and looked down at him. Lucas, unconscious, pale, fragile. The boy who had cost me so much was now alive because of me. The truth of my strength, my resilience, my worth, radiated through the room like sunlight cutting through fog. I stepped out of the operating room, and there they were, my parents, frozen, drained, desperate, waiting for news. Their eyes met mine, recognition dawning slowly, painfully. Their world had shifted in these 3 hours. The little girl they ignored, the daughter they disowned, was now the woman holding the power to save their son's life. And in that moment, I realized something extraordinary. I was no longer a victim. I was the reckoning. I walked toward them, calm, composed, every step deliberate. "He is stable," I said. My voice carried across the sterile hallway. "Surgery was successful. He is alive. You can see him in the ICU in 1 hour." My parents' mouths opened and closed, unable to form words. For 5 long years, they had dismissed me, blocked me, erased me. Now, for the first time, their entire world depended on me. And I smiled, not out of cruelty, but out of undeniable truth. I was the one who mattered. I always had been. I walked into the ICU, my steps measured, calm, deliberate. My parents were sitting side by side, hands clasped, eyes red, faces drained. They did not speak. They did not move. They were waiting, hoping for a miracle they had ignored for years. I stopped in front of them, badge visible. Dr. Olivia Carter, Chief of Critical Care, ICU attending physician. Their eyes widened as recognition hit. Mom's hands shot to her mouth, trembling. Dad's shoulders slumped, his face pale, the weight of years of mistakes crashing down. 5 years. 5 long years of ignoring, dismissing, erasing me. And now, they depended on me to save their child, my own brother. "He is stable," I said, calm, unwavering. "Surgery went well. His vitals are normal. He is out of danger. You may see him in 1 hour." The silence stretched. It was unbearable, heavy, suffocating. The truth had landed. The little girl they disowned, the daughter they abandoned, was now the one keeping their world from falling apart. Mom's voice broke first, trembling. "Olivia, we—" She could not finish. Words failed her. Dad just shook his head, as if denying reality could undo everything. I did not soften. I had spent too long being ignored, erased, invisible. I had nothing left to give them but the truth. "Do you see now?" I asked, steady. "Do you see what you have done? You disowned me over lies. You blocked me. You pretended I did not exist. And now, after everything, your son's life is in my hands." My parents flinched. There was no defense, no excuse, only the truth, sharp and undeniable, cutting through every lie they had believed, every lie my brother had told to protect himself. I took a step closer, calm, controlled. 5 years ago, you made a choice. You chose to believe deception over your own daughter. Today, you are finally learning the cost of that choice. I am here. I saved him. I am your daughter, whether you remember that or not, and I always will be. Mom dropped her head into her hands, silent sobs shaking her body. Dad stood frozen, guilt etched into every line of his face. I turned to the nurse at the station. "Prepare him for visitation," I said, "and make sure they understand that I make the rules. Any mistreatment, any false accusation, and I will remove them immediately." My parents nodded, silent, humbled, powerless. They had lost control. They had dismissed me for years, but now their entire world revolved around me, and for the first time, the power balance had shifted. I was no longer the ignored daughter, I was the reckoning. As I walked away, leaving them waiting outside the ICU, I felt something I had not felt in years: peace. Revenge was not in words, not in anger. Revenge was in this moment, standing tall, accomplished, unshaken, holding the power they had once denied me. I had survived their lies. I had thrived without them. And now they had to see me, not as the child they ignored, but as the woman they could never erase. I smiled quietly to myself. 5 years of pain, 5 years of being unseen, led to this. And in that quiet, unspoken truth, I realized something extraordinary. I was no longer broken. I was whole. I was powerful. I was finally free.